I think there is no future for the young people in Palestine.
Today's been declared a day of rage here among Palestinians.
I fought against all my fears to wake up.
Palestinians don't have any other choice. They have to choose peace or peace or peace.
I think what struck me most about the West Bank was that it was easier to get around as a foreigner than it was for a Palestinian crew. On more than one occasion, we had to leave them behind as we were filming near certain checkpoints. Those checkpoints, along with the cameras and the fencing, are meant to protect Israelis who are living and working in the West Bank from terrorist attacks. But at the same time, they've made it next to impossible for most Palestinians to get to know their Israeli neighbors.
We're just a few meters away from the checkpoints. It's a different world. Me and the soldier holding two different identities. I have the Palestinian ID card, he has the Israeli one. And it's technically two different worlds.
I met up with 27-year-old Palestinian Mohammed Al-Mutasib. He grew up here in the divided city of Hebron. His father's shop has been in the family for 7 generations. It's also uncomfortably close to an Israeli checkpoint. Growing up here in Hebron, did you know any Israelis that weren't in uniform?
For a certain time in my age, when the word Jewish gets mentioned in any conversation, either negative, positive, regular, the only thing I could imagine, the only image that comes to my brain, it's soldiers or settlers, and that's what I knew about Jews. I'm not shy to tell you, for a certain time, this situation that I've lived in, it drove me to be racist for a few years in my life.
The Palestinian territories have an extremely young population. More than half the people in the West Bank and Gaza are under 24 years old. They grew up in the era that followed the Oslo peace accords and watched as high-stakes negotiations and international summits came and went with no resolution to the half-century-old military occupation that's defined their lives. Could you tell me what it was like growing up here?
It was really hard to grow up in a very violent situation, violence everywhere, violent from every corner. So that was a really hard situation to grow up with as a child, and knowing that this thing's happening in a daily basis.
The city of Hebron is easily one of the starkest symbols of the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. Its religious importance has brought hundreds of Jewish settlers here, increasing restrictions for Palestinian residents. This street used to be bustling with shops everywhere, but now they're all closed down because that checkpoint back there means Palestinians can't cross. So this has been turned into a virtual ghost town. For young people growing up in the Palestinian territories, the future is bleak. The unemployment rate for adults under 30 in the West Bank is 40%. The standard of living is much worse in the Gaza Strip. The World Bank warns its economy is on the brink of collapse. Young people we spoke with blamed restrictions on Palestinian access and movement for poor living conditions, but also reserved some criticism for the fractured Palestinian leadership, including Mahmoud Abbas, who's been Palestinian president now for 14 years, and whose participation in peace talks with Israel, they say, has done little to bring about a Palestinian state. Polling shows a majority of young people want the resignation of 83-year-old Abbas. The number who want him out is even higher among students. Do you think that your current leaders represent your interests?
لا مش ملبي احتياجاتنا، ورئيسنا شبه فاشل. شبه انه رئيسنا فاشل لانه لا متعاون معنا وبتعاون مع الاحتلال، والسلطة والاحتلال جهاز الأمن يعني جهاز واحد.
17-year-old Ronnie and his family live in Dehesha refugee camp, just south of Bethlehem in the West Bank. The camp was set up to house Palestinians who fled their villages in the 1948 Arab-Israeli War. Israel argues that these refugees and their descendants should give up their so-called right of return. Ronnie's grandmother refuses. She still has the key to her home in a village near Jerusalem. Are you hopeful that he'll grow up to have a different life than you had?
لا مش أحسن، الحياة صعبة. الأيام هذه صعبة وموجها أصعب.
You think life for him is going to be more difficult?
أنا شايف تكون أصعب الحياة على الجيل هذا.
Angry over their situation, young people were at the forefront of the First and Second Intifadas. But for this generation, the children of the Second Intifada, prospects for peace look as grim now as they did then. with the once promising two-state solution looking more and more like a pipe dream. So we're in the West Bank in Bethlehem, just outside of a checkpoint, and today's been declared a day of rage here among Palestinians. Some young people are throwing stones over towards the checkpoint where the Israeli soldiers are right now, and they're burning tires so that when they're shot at, it's harder to tell where they are. One of the more visible signs of tension are the routine stone-throwing demonstrations in the West Bank. So routine that in the middle of a pretty chaotic situation, people carried about as though nothing was happening. So you can see the soldiers have now started lining up down there, and the kids are kind of hiding on the outskirts, but they're still throwing rocks, and we're told to expect tear gas pretty soon here. Israelis will tell you they feel threatened by the young protesters, hundreds of whom are currently detained for violence against Israelis. In the last 3 years, Israel counts nearly 200 stabbings, in addition to the near-daily demonstrations. But to hear Palestinians tell it, rocks and knives are their only means of resistance against a massive military force. What do you think your future looks like here in Palestine?
شهيد كنت مسجون عندي ومعتقلين 2 اخوتي واخوي صغير عمره 13 سنه مسجون اصغر اسير فلسطيني يعني ذكرت تفرج على احتلال.
It's not uncommon to hear teens like him talk of becoming martyrs, but a nonviolent protest movement provides an alternative means of resistance. We're in Hebron right now, and we're with a group of Palestinian activists, but we had to park the car because the city is divided in two. We can't go past the Israeli side with this group, so we're walking to their meeting place. 38-year-old Issa Amro is known in the West Bank for his campaign of civil disobedience and arrests at the hands of both Israeli and Palestinian authorities. He's the founder of Youth Against Settlements, an organization that brings young people together to protest Israeli policies in a nonviolent way. Their tactics include sit-ins and monitoring settlers with video cameras. You teach nonviolence as a way of resisting. How representative do you think your view is among young Palestinians today?
You know, the majority of the Palestinians are not active at all. They are very silent, they are very intimidated, and they are completely disappointed from any kind of resistance.
When we caught up with Amro, his group was meeting in secret. Israeli law bans Palestinians in the West Bank from gathering in large groups to discuss politics. At the settlement next door, an Israeli soldier kept watch.
فإذا في حدا عنده أفكار في موضوع حملة شارع الشهداء يتفضل يعني.
فلازم يكون في جهد كبير ويعني نتواصل مع الجميع مع الجامعات والمدارس.
How do you overcome decades of hatred and fear and suspicion of the other side and promote peace?
Palestinians don't have any other choice. They have to choose peace or peace or peace. We don't have any other choice. We should have peace to be able to make peace. So this is what we are trying to do.
It's quite possible that if you're a young Palestinian growing up in Gaza or the West Bank, the only Israelis you've spoken with face-to-face have been soldiers. For a long time, that was Mohammed al-Mutasib's experience, but he hopes the same won't be true for his 3 kids. What does the future hold for them?
I do hope to my children to live in peace, to not care about what people's skin color is, to not care about what people's religion is, just to live their life and to be in a way that they should do their life goals and their life hopes.